even though the barbarian attacked pagan Rome, they do fall. And what we're saying, studying the Eastern question, we are not saying that Turkey will replace the prophecy of the statue where they will override the papal system. They will attack, but they will come to their end.
Mm-hmm.
So Rome still stays at the end, but
it's a scourge.
It's a scourge.
It's a scourge.
Exactly.
A dark and threatening day had come for the Reformation, notwithstanding the Edict of Worms, declaring Luther to be an outlaw and forbidding the teaching or belief of his doctrines. Religious toleration had thus far prevailed in the empire. God's providence had held in check the forces that opposed the truth. And who was the forces that opposed the truth?
The papacy.
The papacy. Charles V was bent on crushing the Reformation, but often as he raised his hand to strike, he had been forced to turn aside the blow. Again and again, the immediate destruction of all who dared to oppose themselves to Rome appeared inevitable. But at the critical moment, the armies of the Turk appeared on the eastern frontier, or the King of France, or even the Pope himself, jealous of the increasing greatness of the emperor, made war upon him, and thus, amid the strife and tumult of nations, the Reformation had been left to strengthen and extend.
So we see here from the Great Controversy, page 197, paragraph 2, that God's providence held in check the forces that opposed the truth. And who he did it with?
The Turks.
The Turks. Yeah. So it helped propagate the gospel by using the Ottoman Empire against the papacy. So Martin Luther had free range for the progress of the Protestant movement. And it says here, there would have been no Protestantism had there been no Turk.
That is quite the statement. What does this have to do with the three angels' message or the first and second angels' messages? How does this play into that?
Well, as this Turkey led to the Protestant Reformation as being the only reason why they're able to even happen, what we see in the first and second angels' message is that there was a prophecy that caused the Advent movement to go with force. And we read from the Great Second Advent Movement written by John Loughborough. This prophetic symbol of Revelation 10 presents the time when this message is to go forth with a loud voice. And finally, as a lion roareth, the time when, according to this prophecy, the message was to increase to its loud cry is from the close of the sixth trumpet to the end of that prophetic period leading to the cleansing of the sanctuary. In other words, to the end of the 2300 days. The first four trumpets met their fulfillment in the wars of the Goths, Vandals, Huns, etc., which divided Western Rome into 10 parts or kingdoms. And in 1838, Dr. Josiah Litch of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, having embraced the truth, which you've been talking about these past couple of days, set forth by William Miller, united in the work of giving greater publicity to the message. He prepared articles for the public print on the subject of the seven trumpets of the Revelation. He took the unqualified position that the sixth trumpet would cease to sound and the Ottoman power would fall on the 11th day of August 1840, and that would demonstrate to the world that a day in symbolic prophecy represents a year of literal time. So what we're seeing here is the stage is now set. Mm-hmm. William Miller had been preaching this day for a year principle in which We had 1798 happening. All these prophecies that were happening in the past. It's so easy to look back in history and then to establish a principle. But how about us looking into the future and establishing this principle? Well, we read on the next slide, public journals spread abroad the claim he had made on the subject. Now listen to this. Infidel clubs discussed the question in their meetings and said, "Here is a man that ventures something, and if this matter comes out as he says, it will establish his claim without a doubt that a day in prophecy symbolizes a year, and that the 2300 days is so many years, and that they will terminate in 1844. Wow. The people, the world, were saying that if this man and his prophecy was to be fulfilled, then there must be some meaning behind this message.
It's what gave the impetus.
It's what gave the impetus. And to illustrate this, what happened after the sixth trumpet was fulfilled, because we read, it was mentioned by Mackenzie in a previous article, and we read here to illustrate how, just at the close of the sixth trumpet, the Advent message began to go with a loud voice.
Wow.
With a loud voice. I will note a case as related to me by one of the actors in this message. In the year 1840, E.C. Williams, an extensive tent and sail maker of Rochester, New York, accepted the message and invited Elder Miller and Himes to come to Rochester and to speak to the thousands of that city. They replied that they lacked the money necessary to secure a hall of sufficient size to accommodate the people. Do you think that would stop God from pushing this movement? No, it absolutely didn't. He replied, "I have a circular tent of 120 feet in diameter. I will pitch it, seat it, and care for it free. Come on and proclaim the message." They came, he said to me, and the tent did not half hold those who came to hear. So I put in a 40-foot splice, making a tent 160 by 120 feet in size. This tent was filled with people daily, and hundreds crowded near on the outside, all eager to hear the word. So why was this happening? Why did this happen? It was because Josiah Litch's prophecy became true.
Amen.
Everybody saw it, and they widely accepted what was then being stated.
She says that in the year 1840, another remarkable fulfillment of prophecy excited widespread interest. 2 years before, Josiah Litch, one of the leading ministers preaching the second Advent, published an exposition of Revelation proclaiming the fall of the Ottoman Empire. According to the calculation, this power was to be overthrown in AD 1840, sometimes in the month of August. And only a few days previous to its accomplishment, he wrote, allowing the first period, 150 years, to have been exactly fulfilled before the ghosts ascended the throne by permission of the Turks, and that the 391 years, 15 days commence at the close of the first period. It will end on the 11th of August, 1840, when the Ottoman power in Constantinople may be expected to be broken. And this is Josiah speaking, and this, I believe, will be found to be the case. And so all at the very time specified, Turkey, through her ambassadors, accepted the protection of the Allied powers of Europe, and thus placed herself under the control of Christian nations. The event exactly fulfilled the prediction. When it became known, multitudes were convinced the correctness of the principles of prophetic interpretation adopted by Miller and his associates, and a wonderful impetus was given to the Advent movement. Men of learning and position united with Miller, both in preaching and in publishing his views. And from 1840 to 44, the work rapidly extended. So here's Ellen White endorsing this and saying that this is what happened and this is what started our movement. This is what gave power to our movement. So prophecy that's being fulfilled exactly to the date that Josiah Litch, with the principle of Miller, put together.
And to continue the importance of the three angels' message, so the first two were still tied with the Ottoman Empire, and the third angel's message and the fourth angel, all this will be tied with the Turks again. And when we first looked at all this, we said, if the Turks are still relevant today, yes. All these things will go in greater details, and that's why we like, okay, we will have to study. And here, we'll read from the Spirit of Prophecy, the three angels' message and the Turks. In the future, we must meet stern realities, trials that will test our loyalty to God and His truth. The beautiful theories that are being presented by some will not help us in the hour of trial and difficulty.
Wow.
We are to study the truths of the three angels' messages and to believe in and worship a God who is able to carry us through the time of trouble. God desires us to act like men and women who have the truth. The first, second, and the third angel's message are presented in the last book of the Bible, in Revelation. This book is not a mystery. It is a message to the churches, easily understood by those who have willing ears to hear the instruction that Christ came to deliver us through his servant John. So here, we cannot be settled in the truth in many theories. We have to be settled in the three angels' message according to what was on the platform and what was preached back then.
And I don't know, does anybody here really understand what exactly is the Eastern question whenever we say it? No, I didn't think so, but we have.
Yeah, we have two definitions we have on the slides there. So one of them is from Britannica.com, and it's a diplomatic problem posed in the 19th and 20th centuries by the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire, centering on the contest for control of former Ottoman territories. Any international change in the Turkish domains caused tension among the European powers, each of which feared that one of the others might take advantage of the political disarray to increase its own influence. So as the Ottoman Empire was losing power, the concern with the European countries was, well, if they completely lose their territory, so who's going to take over? Yeah. And that created tension. And so the plan is, well, let's keep them where they are. So that was always the question. What are we going to do with their territories if they completely fall away? And we also have a definition from Bible readings for the home circle. For those that don't know, that's where you would find all the doctrines for our Adventist church. Like whenever they would go canvassing, they would have one-on-one Bible studies. That was their book. That was their go-to book. So you needed to know anything about where we stood as a church, the doctrines, you went to that book and you'd find all the information you needed. So this is showing the position of the church. It's the driving out of Turkey from Europe and the final extinction of the Turkish Empire with the world-embracing events that follow. It has been otherwise described as the driving of the Turk into Asia and a scramble for its territory. So that was the position of the church. Not just Uriah, not just one person. It was the church as a whole that believed in that.
Let me ask this question. We've been talking about this over the weekend. How are we supposed to interpret this idea of Daniel 11, Revelation 9, this Eastern question, is this a literal or spiritual thing?